you have Americans out there thinking it's our duty to fund Ukraine when you got NATO right there. We're the only ones expected to fix it. We're the only ones expected to save people. And we're the only ones who are expected to take blame and accept fault. Now, let me tell you why this plan makes perfect sense at this moment in time. Number one, President Trump started from a position of strength. Right after his inauguration, he wrote this on Truth. I'm going to do Russia, whose economy is failing, and President Putin a very big favor. Settle now and stop this ridiculous war. It's only going to get worse. If we don't make a deal, and soon, I have no other choice but to put high levels of taxes, tariffs, and sanctions on anything being sold by Russia to the United States and various other participating countries, could be many. We can do it the easy way or the hard way. The easy way is always better. He made it very clear. And the thing is with Donald Trump, President Trump, you know he could do the crazy stuff that he says he may do.
Yeah.
He's made a career off of being unpredictable. It's not lost on me if you think that we are sending the message to Vladimir Putin that he can simply invade and win. That's not the reality of the threat, and that is not the message that is being sent right now. Key fact here, number two, this war has been a stalemate for a very long time outside of the lives lost. So first of all, NATO membership was a non-starter, right? For Putin, who said this last year, we're talking about Ukraine. He said, if there is no neutrality, it is difficult to imagine the existence of any good neighborly relations between Russia and Ukraine. If you don't remember, Biden met, I believe it was Zelensky, talked about perhaps NATO, those rumors went, and then boom, it popped off. This has always been a sore spot, and it's been an agreement with Russia, right? Ukraine, NATO. They are not supposed to join NATO. I know people now say, oh, that was never going to happen. Yeah, but you discussed it and you demanded it. So this war has been a stalemate. Let's look right now at the lines of control. Okay, here's a map for you. All right? See that? That's where we are. Okay. Now, let's look at the lines of control exactly 2 years ago. Well, how many more years do you need?
Jeez.
Think about that.
That's unbelievable.
Those aren't the same picture.
Exactly.
There's a little bit more territory up north, but
yeah, that's 2 years. The casualties, and they're very, very hard to get an accurate number. We provide the references, links in the description. So we've tried to use more left-leaning sources in case people want to accuse us of bias. Depends where you're getting them. In Ukraine, 400,000 plus dead or wounded. Russia, 600,000 plus dead or wounded. It's one of those give or take 500,000, depending on the numbers that you use.
Yeah, but this could be much, much higher.
Could be much higher.
Insane.
Most of the numbers include severe injuries, along with deaths and casualties. The point is, you're in the seven figures, and the battle lines the lines of control are the exact same. They're the exact same. It's just more money, not to mention the billions of dollars missing.
Yeah.
At what point do you say, okay, this is a war that doesn't make sense?
it's a big war that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like people want to compare this war to our war in Afghanistan or Iraq, but those numbers are nowhere near the same.
Not even close.
Not even close.
I mean, I think it was Operation Enduring Freedom. I think it was a total of like 32 or 35,000 total wounded and dead. It was like 3,500 dead maybe.
Yeah.
And then, 35 total. Compared to that.
You're right.
And that's 20 years.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen if this goes on for 20 more years?
No, exactly.
You're going to run out of people.
So the alternative right now is to continue the funding to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. You think in 3 years, in 4 years, in 5 years, you think that the lines of control are going to change? Let's fund it. Billions of more dollars, millions of more people. They'll just end up dying, and you'll end up with the same net result. That is the most likely scenario. That was pretty much the foregone conclusion at the start of this war. It doesn't mean that invading Ukraine was right. No one is saying that.
Of course.
We are living in reality at this point, and we have another problem that I think has been highlighted by this war, and I would argue, as Americans, should concern us most. But that's me, Mr. Selfish American, is that we have now seen that Europe is woefully inequipped. You don't want to stare directly at the sun.
Did we do that?
No, you don't need to admonish me.
Aww.
Fine, give me one.
Admonish.
Yeah, let that thunder roll.
That Europe is woefully ill-equipped. It's because the word woefully was before. It's hard to say. And this includes this whole NATO, all of this, they can't deal with their own problems. They can't deal with their own crap. It is a given that the United States will be the never-ending supply of funding so long as we are virtue signaled, browbeaten into submission on behalf of interests that are not aligned with our own. I think the most important point that can be made at this point, you can comment below if you disagree, is to tell Europe, hey, start removing the entitlement phallus from your asses and start taking care of your own countries. It's not our job to step in. And I say this as someone who lived in Canada, where the American military. Okay, let me change one thing. Defend your own border. Go!
Exactly. All right, how about France send somebody to Mexico to take care of the cartels?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Go for it, guys.
And we have an opportunity right now because they are in a little bit of the hot seat. And you know what they should be? It's like, hey, enjoy your hot seat. Maybe you should clean this up at this point. Start with just paying your fair share, NATO nations. Not even close, with the exception of one. We'll get to that. So yesterday, former Fox Sunday morning host, now Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, said that Europe
Former major.
was going to have to do just that.
Any security guarantee must be backed by capable European and non-European troops. We ask each of your countries to step up on fulfilling the commitments that you have made. And we challenge your countries and your citizens to double down and recommit yourselves not only to Ukraine's immediate security needs, but to Europe's long-term defense and deterrence goals.
It's your yard. Keep your dog in it. Vice President J.D. Vance said pretty much the same thing during the campaign.
The second biggest criticism I make about the war in Ukraine and our approach to it is that we are subsidizing the Europeans to do nothing. The Europeans are not carrying their fair share of the burden, especially when it comes in provision of weapons and they're deindustrializing their own country at the same time that they say that Putin must be defeated at all costs.
Side note, isn't it cool to see men again? Yeah. Hegseth, Vance, comment below. It's the little wins, right? You have to enjoy the small victories. Actual men.
American men. I like seeing Hegseth
Yes.
with the American flag pocket square.
Yeah.
I love that.
Straight out of Central Casting.
Love that.
I hope he drinks a little more. Look more manly.
He said he wouldn't. All right.
Well, I mean, can we just focus in on this has been going on for literally centuries, but let's just focus on over the last 100 years this has been going on.
Yeah.
This exact same battle over this exact same piece of land with the exact same participants doing this. And Europe has just basically been sitting on their thumbs the entire time.
Right.
It's not like this is a new problem that they're like, oh no, this came out of nowhere. This has been going on for a very long time at different levels.
Everything you just said is correct. But what gets me viscerally angry is being raised in Canada where they would badmouth the United States, say, you guys are just a bunch of gun-toting yahoos. And in Europe, if you have an American passport, you Americans are so blah, 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 blah. You know what? First off, we don't like you. That's why we left. Second, you get all this free shit, even though you live in small IKEA apartments that have to have a combo washer-dryer unit that always leaves your clothes damp because you can't afford real estate. The United States spends twice as much on defense as all of Europe, and Europe has over 100 million more people than the United States. Shut up. This is one of the greatest tricks that has ever.
Holy crap on the left.
It's one of the greatest gotchas, tricks that's been pulled on a people ever. The fact that you have Americans out there thinking it's our duty to fund Ukraine when you got NATO right there. We're the only ones expected to fix it. We're the only ones expected to save people. And we're the only ones who are expected to take blame and accept fault. No, how about that? Only Poland, and God love the Polacks. They contribute a higher share of their GDP to defense of the United States. They're like 3.9, we're 3.4. And again, that's because Poland doesn't want Putin to march on in through there, which seems highly unlikely at this point.
Right.
I'm not concerned about it. I think Poland can also help handle themselves if you see what Ukraine has done. And the good news is NATO would actually have a responsibility to help Poland.
Yeah.
But all this was predicated. What about Poland? I don't know. Isn't that your job?
Right. But by the way, with Poland, they're not just sitting back saying NATO will come to our defense either.
No.
They're actually preparing to defend themselves. And that's exactly what we want every country over there to do. It is to some degree, it is your land. if you can keep it has been the historical mantra.
Right.
Forever.
It's almost like erasing history doesn't work. They're
Exactly.
actually learning from it.
And Poland, by the way, they've been browbeaten on the international stage. Like, we're going to kick out Muslims. UN's like, no. We're like, yes.
Yes.
Good. And it's not just... and by the way, it's not just the military. Right? We're expected to foot the bill militarily for the entire world. Okay, great. The United States, yay us, except you guys all act like we're a bunch of pricks. Okay, fine. Europe spends a third less. Yes, and by the way, when I say yes, Europe on R&D compared to the United States.
One country?
And Japan. Yeah, all of Europe.
Oh, the whole thing.
All of Europe. And for all of the arrogance that you hear, and when you also hear this from American Democrats saying we should be more like Europe, these leisure societies who have given the world nothing for the last several centuries. You go, well, hold on a second. They're not spending anything on military compared to us. They're not spending anything on R&D, and that includes technology. That includes pharmaceuticals, life-saving tools that are created. Well, then you look at the entitlements as a percentage of the GDP. France, 32%. Austria, 29%. Italy, 28.9%. Germany, 28.8%. Denmark, 26.9%. We still have way too much at 23, but it's significantly lower. And South Korea said, hold my beer with 12.2%. Which brings me, by the way, at this point in time, no apologies to a deal I would take tomorrow. So since all of this has transpired, Canadians, Eurotrash, they're all over X and social media saying that because of this, we should kick the United States out of NATO. Here's Mariska Den Ellen. Ukraine in NATO makes more sense than the Americans in NATO. Just kick the Americans out. Ukrainians actually defend Europe. Alan Fryer, I assume a Brit.
Weapons?
Never thought I'd say this, but both NATO and the G7 should reconsider continued US membership.
Fella Rakhtar. Just want to remind everyone, Ukraine's land, Ukraine's choice. The US is not the center of the universe. They are free to make shitty choices. They are free to make shitty recommendations. But Europe and Ukraine are also free to tell the US to go and F itself. Okay, all right. We're free to make crappy choices. We're not the center of the universe. You know what? I'll take your word for it. We shouldn't be the center of the universe. Namely, shouldn't be the center of your universe. Largely because yours is shittier, ours is better. So you don't want us here because you don't want us to pull funding? How about this? Going forward, we will offer no funding. You want us out of NATO? That is a deal that I would take tomorrow. I'm pissed now.
Yeah. Hey, Europe, thanks for the Renaissance. Now kick rocks.
Yeah. Just where are these people? Just think of the arrogance.
I know.
It's like, okay, what high horse? Where's your soapbox? Is it medical innovations? No. Is it medicine? No. Technology? No. Military? No. Winning any wars in the last couple of centuries? No.
That war would have been over a long time ago without us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
We could. Oh, yeah, you're right. We could have helped out. We could have ended this war 2 years ago by not sending any weapons and letting that whole country become Russia.
Yep. That would have
And then put it right on NATO's border.
Yeah.
Piss off.
Probably would have resulted in far fewer lives lost because it would have been quite swift. Not saying it's a good thing. It's just you don't get to demand our money and then Shermanize as to how we give it to you. Key point here, number 3, when you listen to Mr. Bolton with the Rocky Bullwinkle halftime mustache. He was saying,
ridiculous, dude.
What kind of a message is this sending to top?
You can go back in time when this war started, where we talked about the unholy alliance that could take place between Russia and China because they weren't good bedfellows, and if they do cozy up, that could be bad. And we talked about how we needed to be ready for the Pacific Theater, not because we value Taiwan more than the United States, but because we actually have our own self-interest at stake. And if you understand the worldview, the ism from this government, of course you would know that Bolton is full of crap because Secretary Hegseth said on Sunday, I believe it was, I don't know when he said it. He was a Sunday morning host, but I think he said it this week. I get confused. He discussed specifically, hey, I just want to be clear. Ukraine is not Asia. Asia is our priority.
The United States faces consequential threats to our homeland. we must and we are focusing on security of our own borders. We also face a peer competitor in the communist Chinese with the capability and intent to threaten our homeland and core national interests in the Indo-Pacific. The U.S. is prioritizing deterring war with China in the Pacific, recognizing the reality of scarcity and making the resourcing trade-offs to ensure deterrence does not fail.
Hold on a second. There it is again, treating the government like a business. Scarcity, not a never-ending supply of funding, unlike how NATO considers it, how they view it, unlike how the Democrats view it. It's just more money, more money, more money. More money equals good. So when people like Bolton, those absolute when they say, this is actually sending a message to Taiwan that we're not going to help them, you don't live in the real world in understanding supply, understanding demand, understanding scarcity. The United States defense our industrial base here cannot support war in both theaters, in Ukraine, Russia, and in the Pacific. A lot of the weapons that would be needed in Taiwan have been sent to Ukraine, meaning it cannot be sent to Taiwan. So HIMARS, ATACMS, or is it ATA?
It's hard to say.
Okay. ATACMS, 15 millimeter shells. These are all the kinds of supplies that Taiwan would need and instead are being sent to a different theater of war where the control lines haven't changed at all.
By the way, it's 155 millimeter shells, 15 millimeter.
What did I say, 15?
Smaller.
No, 155.
155, Mike, those are big.
155.
I was thinking
They are big.
I was thinking of my bathroom mirror.
Not me again. I don't need to get fragged with a frickin' admonish because
155 millimeter shells, obviously.
son of a gun.
I don't even know what 15 millimeter shell would look like.
It's not a shell. It's not a shell. It's like a.
It's a puny.
I mean, it would be like, it'd be a big handgun round, right?
It's the one you bought from Temu.
Like a mortar. Like a mortar.
That's all you got? Look at
babe.
mine. It's 10 times bigger.
So, and by the way, the CSIS with the war games, they've run some scenarios here. The United States would run out of quite a few critical munitions within 1 week in a fight with China.
Well,
based on what we have right now.
that sucks.
So anyone telling you that this is simply enabling a tyrant and that this is buddying up with Russia, this is really what it comes down to. What's the alternative? Mm-hmm. We know what NATO's is. We know what Ukraine's would be. More money, more money, more money. How does that fix it? And you know what? I'd issue that challenge to that same solution for all of our problems. Department of Education, okay. We think we need to reform it. You say more money, more money, more money. Okay. Social Security, something needs to change. You say more money, more money. VA, something needs to change. You say more money, more money. What is the alternative at this moment in time, February 13th, 2025? Can anyone give me an answer beyond more money? Because mine is no money, and Europe needs to stop being an entire, not nation, but an entire, whatever you call it, conglomerate of f***s.
We ain't talking cigarettes.
YouTube dump, I don't care.
No, you shouldn't care. We have an article from 24 plus years ago saying that they needed to start funding more. There's some problems in your neighborhood. You guys need NATO countries start spending more on military. You can go back even further than that. So Europe has known about this problem for a very long time. And by the way, let's go back to the 2 previous administrations, or 3 ago. Obama, 2014, Crimea. You guys want to make sure that Russia doesn't feel emboldened and that they can step outside the box a little bit? Don't let them take Crimea. If that really is the red line that you say it is now, why weren't you sending troops in 2014 to make sure that he couldn't keep Crimea? And you would push him out completely and put troops all along the border. No, you wanted the United States to act. You wanted the United States to fund it and to send our troops because you guys are a bunch of pansies.
I think we were busy in
Step
Syria.
up or shut up.
We're busy everywhere because it's everyone's world police. They never.
I'm done with it.
You ever been in an argument with someone who forgets the entire lead up to where you say something that is maybe off color? It's like, well, hold on a second. You're forgetting the part where you asked us to come in, you little shit. You're forgetting the part where you had your hands out and you said that we would be the history's greatest moral failure if we didn't step in. For crying out, it's all the time. Okay, you don't want us to meddle? Hey, you're not asking for money in Africa right now? Oh, that's right. We still have to, you're furious about that too. If we don't spend $500 million. Oh, okay. So I'm sorry. That's right. I'm done with it. The policy, and you're seeing it from this administration, is, hey, guess what? No money. You come to us, treat it like international Shark Tank. Give us a pitch. The answer's still probably no, but give it your best shot.
They're acting like a teenage girl gets drunk at a house party, calls her dad to save her, and then he gets there, puts his arm around her. She goes, no, don't. Not in front of my friends.
That's creepy, but yes. Keep watching. Click. Keep watching. Click. Keep watching. Click the keep watching. Click. Keep watching. Click. Keep watching.